Advaita Shāntam really refers to a concept whereby in Advaitam only you can get the peace. And that is going to be the starting point of our discussion today. To understand Advaita Shāntam, it's important to know that every human being experiences three states in a humanly designed time zone, which consists of 24 hours in every day. The first portion being the waking state, second being the dream state, and the third is the deep sleep state. Let's understand this a little bit more clearly. So the first state is called the waking state, in which we as human beings are interacting with the world outside. So we and the world becomes the world of duality. World of duality is essential for transacting business. For doing anything in this world, you require two people. You can't do everything by yourself. Therefore, the Dvaitam state is essential for transaction, and that is a state which we live in during the waking state of human beings. During this time, the body plus brain, both of which are gross in form, and mind, which is the subtle form of the human body-mind consciousness configuration, is interacting with the world outside. And we all know what happens in the waking state. Now, if you see at the bottom, there is this consciousness which is really supporting all the three states of human experience. While body, brain, and mind are functioning during the waking state, without the consciousness at the back, nothing can happen here during the waking state. What is happening during the waking state? Because we are in the world of duality, we go through trials and tribulations. We have to interact, and interaction means trouble. Why trouble? Because each one of us is essentially interested in protecting the me or the I factor, which we have created or constructed for ourselves through an imagination that we are different from other people, because we look only at our body and mind. And obviously, when you look at other people, very distinct from us, we have to accept the reality that they are different from us. And the moment this duality comes into the picture, there is a division. Division means contradiction. Contradiction arises based on comparison. Comparison, contradiction, conflict, and the consequence of trying to overcome this conflict and contradictions, which puts us into a lot of strain. Therefore, in the world of duality, which is absolutely prevalent in the waking state, we are not in peace. That's the reality. And we want peace. For that, we have to be alone. We think we can get peace when we are alone. But during waking state, that is not possible at all. Relationship is required. And in every relationship, you will have interactions. And interactions means trouble. Oftentimes, it can be good also. I am not saying you don't experience goodness in the waking state at all. That's not the point. But you don't experience peace right through in the waking state. That is an important point to appreciate. Let's come to the second state, which is the dream state. Here also it is the world of duality. In the waking stage, there is a waker and the world outside. In the dream state, there is a dreamer and he is interacting with the dream world. So there is a dream body that automatically gets into action, not your physical body that you use to interact during the waking state. Because if you start using the physical body, then you're not in sleep as yet. When you go into sleep, the first stage or the latter stage of your deep sleep, when you get into dream, then the physical body cannot be functioning. Therefore, a dream body gets immediately constructed automatically, and that dream body starts to interact with a dream world that the mind has created. At this time, the 5 sense organs, which we used for interaction purposes during the waking stage, is not functioning. The only thing that is functioning at the dream state is the mind. And it is the mind which essentially projects the dream based on a certain action that takes place within the mind through a reflection that the consciousness creates on the mind. And the mind essentially reflects or throws or projects some of the impressions that you carried from maybe past as well as in the present. That becomes the dream. So during this time, as you may understand or you may recall, that the dream is also a world of duality, whereby the dream objects can be really troublesome. You can go through harrowing experiences during the dream as well. It's a different story that when you wake up, the dream is gone and you feel a sigh of relief. Only momentarily, because the moment you wake up, you're back into the waking stage of the duality. So during the waking, during the dream state, in both states, there is the prevailing duality, as a result of which you are not at peace. Let's go to the deep sleep state. During the deep sleep state, the mind, the body, mind, brain, all of them are in a state of potential state, which means it is there, but it is not functional in its entirety. Mind is there, but not in the functional form, but in a potential state. Both body, I mean the physiology, as well as the mind is in potential state. And one might say, obviously, during the deep sleep state, some of the functions, they continue to take place, like breathing, digestion, and several other non-voluntary actions are continuing to happen. And that's happening because the consciousness is continuously supporting those functions which are required for this body to continue. In the deep sleep state, the most important thing that happens is that the body, mind, both of them have gone into its potential state, signifying a very important information to all of us that body, mind really is not required for existence. Because after that brief sleep that you go through, which is a deep sleep state, when literally you don't know whether you're living or you're dead, so there is a momentary pause in life, shall we say. You have gone into a state of unconsciousness. Otherwise, you will know what's going on. But that doesn't happen during the deep sleep. You know nothing. You don't even know whether you exist. But you still have the body, you have the mind that's there during the sleep. But it's not required because the next morning you wake up with that same body and mind seamlessly without a problem. Just to confirm to you that what is required for existence is not this body and mind. So, what is that element that allowed you to go briefly in a state of unconsciousness and wake up in the next morning and seamlessly connect with whatever happened before you got into the deep sleep state? There must be something. And we confirm that it is the consciousness during the deep sleep state which is continuously functioning, because when you wake up, you are not saying, I was briefly dead. You say, I had a good sleep. And how could you say that after you woke up, even though you were in a state of unconsciousness? Because consciousness has confirmed to you that you were not having any experience that you normally would have in the waking and the dream state, and yet you were there. You did not pass off. That confirmation is given to you after you wake up by the consciousness. Important point to understand here is what happened during this deep sleep state. The duality just vanished. There is no world, there is no you, there is no body, there is no mind, and you are absolutely at peace. Again, to signify to you that when you are only with the consciousness and not with this world of duality, you are absolutely at peace. There is no desire to do anything during this time. If during the deep sleep state, imagine if you were continuing to have this mind which is all the time seeking something or the other, there's a desire continuously taking place, what would be your state? You never ever sleep. That's the truth. So the Advaita Shāntam basically says that only when you are all by yourself, i.e., as a consciousness, then you have the peace. That's non-dual. All duality will create problems for you. I see somebody has raised the hand.
Yes, Guruji, I had a question. Why is dream considered a separate category in the Advaita Shāntam? Like, isn't dreaming considered a natural part of sleeping, which is like a reflection of thoughts that we face during the day? And during this state itself, we are not aware of whether we are dead or alive. So, how is dream different from deep sleep state?
First of all, in dream, you are being troubled.
What if it's a good dream?
Well, you enjoy it, surely. But it's not happening all the time, A. B, you don't have a choice to select your dream. While you're enjoying the dream, suddenly it can go awry, something drastic can take place. It's distinct because at that time, the mind is still actively functioning. Different from the deep sleep, when the mind is retiring itself to a state of potentiality. That's the biggest difference between dream and deep sleep. Also, as far as dream is concerned, one is you cannot dictate terms on which dream you want to have, good, bad. Also, you can't ask for the repetition of the same dream what you had yesterday or few weeks ago. That also is not possible. So essentially, it's reflection of all the information, thoughts that you gathered over a period of time, which gets reflected as a dream. most often pretty confusing because the thoughts which get reflected as a dream is a mixture of several thoughts that are getting reflected at one time. Therefore, you can dream of being at the top of a mountain in a minute, and suddenly you can be in Italy on, on the boat. It's all possible. Complete nonsense can take place. And then you can see some fire on the water. This is dream, and it's completely unreal. And this is the distinct distinction between the dream state and the deep sleep. Very important to note, it is duality. That's why you are having trouble.
So during this dream state, the mind is aware of the fact that we are alive.
Mind is aware
Because
of
the
the
mind is active.
mind. Mind knows, but it's not going to tell you. It's not going to tell you because you are in part of the sleep, the beginning of your sleep. It's not going to tell you. It's only going to tell you the recording of this state of dream. You will come to know of it only when you wake up the next day. And that's the time when you say, oh, I only dreamt, nothing of it is serious. Everything is false. So the mind knows that you're awake, but it will not declare at that same moment because it's in the partial state of sleeping. Whereas in the waking state, the mind is completely awake and it can record and inform you that you are living during the waking state instantaneously or continuously without a break. But that is not possible during the dream because you're in partial state of sleep. And therefore, that part that you are living will be declared to you by the same mind next morning. Can we move on?
Yes.
Okay, so we are very clear about the Advaita Shāntam. That's what I wanted to explain to you. And this is what Shankaracharya was propagating. That if you are in the world of duality, which you have to accept the realities of the troubles coming from the concept of division. That's why Advaita Shāntam has to be understood. Moving on, we have to understand that human beings and the world is divided into three bodies. We have a gross body, we have a subtle body, and a causal body. Gross body is very clear. Everything that you can see and perceive, physical, is the gross body. And when can you see the gross body? Obviously, during the waking state. So, waking state has got direct connection to the gross body. Then comes the subtle body, which essentially consists of the mind. And mind has 5 layers. And mind itself is divided into 4 compartments. I'm not going to tremendous details about mind just now. It can be a bit complicated, but just to understand that it has 4 compartments, essentially the memory, the ability, the willingness, the willpower, the vacillation tendencies, the karma, the vasanas, the recording facilities, the discriminative ability of the mind, and the storage. All these things are divided into 4 sections. And the subtle body itself has 5 layers, which we call in Sanskrit as the koshas. So, in the subtle body, there are 3 main koshas. The first kosha being the gross, which is not part of the subtle. And subtle body has 3 koshas, which are basically the manomaya kosha, the vijnanamaya kosha, the pranamaya kosha, meaning the circulation. The vijnana is the knowledge, sheath, and the pranamaya kosha, which is, the circulation, vijnanamaya kosha, and manomaya kosha is the mind. So three koshas there. And below that is another kosha called the anandamaya kosha, or the bliss body. I just want you to understand that these koshas form basically the inner personality of the human being. So if your koshas are not cleansed, you will have problems in enjoying the bliss, even that comes from experiential pleasures. If you want to experience the pleasure, you need the koshas to be cleansed. The koshas really are the mainstay for the inner personality of a human being. This much for now. Then comes the causal body. Causal body is the state which is equated to the deep sleep state. Gross body, waking state. Subtle body, the dream state. And causal body is equated to the deep sleep state. As we just learned, during the deep sleep, both the mind and the body go into its potential state. Potential state refers to the state of it being in the form of a seed. So, literally, what is happening to the human system every day is we transition from gross waking to subtle, which is dream, and then go into causal state. In causal state, as you have just understood, you don't even know you are living. That's because both mind and body have gone into the state of its potential form, or the seed form, where there is complete absence of knowledge interaction with the world. Both are happening over there. So there is total ignorance during that period. And we call this as a causal state because from the state of it being in a potential form, it emerges into a real form during the waking state. So in the cycle, what happens is we start with the causal state. From causal, we get into the waking state, because during the causal period, nothing was working. So it means it is in a potential state, because if the potential state was not available during the causal body, then next day it will not emerge back into the gross form. Therefore, it is in the potential form during the causal state. From it emerges the gross form. From gross form, you go back into the subtle form. So this cycle is continuously maintained every day. The little translation of this is a miniature of what happens at the gross level, at the universe level. What is this miniature? Potential form is called as the layam. It's a dissolved state. Both mind and body have been dissolved into a potential form. So dissolution is the first. From there emerges the creation, which is the gross. From during the creation, there is also what we call as the maintenance, which is the preservation of your body mind, until you get into the subtle state during the dream state. So every day, literally, there is what happens is dissolution, then creation, preservation. These three things are happening on an everyday basis for every human being, which happens at the larger scale in the universe level, because universe also has a gross body, which is physical. It has got a subtle body, which is in between this gross body. It's a little higher than the gross body. And that That subtle body is called the Hiranyagarbha, in which all the energies are available. The energy that runs this world is available in that subtle form. So, energy which you can't see but is very potential and active is the subtle body of the universe. Gross body is whatever you see at the physical level. Then the causal body. The causal body is not happening on a daily basis like we have it for human beings. It happens once at the end of the creative cycle. And that is called pralayam. Instead of layam that we call for the human beings, that is called pralayam. So, same thing, srishti, creation, sthiti, preservation, and pralayam, dissolution. All the three things are exactly the same that happens to human beings. So, if you understand this much, it's great. I believe there is no questions, so we should move on.